Welcome back to Beyond the Margins, Inside the Mind Shaping Modern Finance. I'm your host, Cherise Arnason, and today we're diving into one of the most important conversations for growing businesses right now: access to capital, smart finance strategy, and what it really takes to position a company for growth. I'm joined by Loïc LG from Agile Solutions, a firm specializing in debt financing and fractional CFO services. They have a network of more than 500 lenders across North America, and they are based in Montreal, Quebec, the home of the great Montreal Canadiens. Loïc, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I am so looking forward to our conversation today. Now, you have an entrepreneurial background and experience with actually a hockey company that specializes in protective equipment and some new technologies. And you've done consulting, you've worked in a major international company, and now as co-founder building Agile Solutions over the past couple of years. That's a lot of perspective coming together. So before we jump into the numbers and strategy, I'd like for you to share a little about your journey.
Sure. Well, essentially, as you mentioned, I do come from an entrepreneurial background. I've worked on to a couple different projects, one of which you mentioned, a hockey brand that specializes essentially in IP. So we're still growing this company and onboarding a lot new partners and other avenues, interesting avenues into the IP industry. But also, while doing so, I had the chance to work with many great entrepreneurs. I did a bit of consulting. And then about a little over 2 years ago, we decided to create this firm. Right now, me and my other partner, we decided to join forces. We both come from different backgrounds, but decided to join forces, essentially creating what is now Agile Solutions. And we specialize in commercial financing as well as advisory services. Our goal is to help companies grow as best as we can, giving them access to the right capital structure, but also the right long-term potential for growth. So, whether it's different solutions like equipment financing, working capital, long-term debt, or even acquisition funding, growth, I think, it's essentially our business model. Growth strengthens the business instead of stressing it. So that's essentially in a nutshell what we do. And we've seen a lot of entrepreneurs. So I'm excited to talk more today about what we've seen and what we're looking forward to in the next future.
Wonderful. What's one of the turning points in your career then that shaped how you think about business and finance today?
That's a good question. I think a turning point is when you have to start your first company and when you have to assemble all different aspects of, so all you have to wear all these different hats. And that's kind of where you find yourself essentially. And you learn a lot about yourself and your own company. So it's about creating synergies with partners, with clients. It's about, working with pain points and running into issues and then solving problems. So I guess this is where most entrepreneurs find themselves, and you grow and you learn from it, and then you're able to move forward on to the next step. And that's essentially what now we're trying to help other businesses do in their own fields.
And with Agile Solutions, it has grown quite quickly over the last couple of years. Building that network of over 500 lenders is no small feat, as I'm sure you would attest to. What has been your core strategy behind how you've positioned the business and delivered value to your clients?
It's essentially around the partners that we work with. So it's a lot of it has to do with relationships. That's our core focus. That's how we've been able to grow, is through referral partners. So any endeavors, any relationships we've come into, we try and see what the synergies are and how we can collaborate on the long term, whether it's with institutions, lenders, investors, or the clients themselves. There's always ways that we could collaborate and ways for us to see potential down the line. So we've always kind of been good at establishing this. I guess it comes from both our entrepreneurial background. We know the strength lies into working as a team. So whether you have, a small business, a business working in services, or even and products, I think the better chances you are in competing is where you have the right, you know, teammates to play with. So I think that's essentially what we're good at. And we've seen a lot of different projects, but it all kind of falls into the same pattern where we complement with the financial aspect of things, and then we try to bring on the right partners onto what we're working on. So whether it's an acquisition or whether it's a refinancing, if there are some grant partners or some investment bankers that we can bring onto the file, and if it helps strengthen the file, we'll do accordingly.
All right. So then you've got that side of it, but you also offer a fractional CFO services. How do you tie those together and add that perspective and value to your clients?
It's a little bit about, our added value. Instead of just brokering deals and sending files to our partners, we want to make sure that it makes sense on the client's side of things, that it makes sense for them to grow this way, that anything we position forward would actually help them in the long run. And so we might do things in a couple phases, but essentially we'll bring on the right projections for the file. We'll build a full data room. We might work onto a full sim if that helps either the investors or the lenders. So we want to package everything appropriately so that it makes sense for any one of our partners to have a look at it. And we try not to work exclusively, so this package would essentially be useful for the clients for other things they might have going on, other avenues they're looking at. So we essentially provide this as a service, and it's up to them to either work with us. Obviously, we hope to deliver a great service so that they keep working with us, but it's something we add on to there, and then therefore, I think it really helps close the deal better and faster down the line because both in our background, the managing partners of Agile Solutions, we've underwritten a lot of files, so we tend to know intrinsically what's going on behind the curtain with these different partners of ours. So we're able to identify what they're looking for and kind of simplify everything for them, essentially making their job easier. So we're like the in between, if you may.
Absolutely. So you're not just finding working capital for businesses, you're helping them to become finance ready for all areas of their business operations. And I love that. I love that. What's your biggest lesson from entrepreneurship so far?
Biggest lesson? That's a good question. Yes, it's never quit.
Love it.
It sounds kind of cheesy, but you never know. I guess every entrepreneur kind of falls into this at some point. We never quite know when the finish line is. And so sometimes we may think, well, this is the end of it. I remember the first endeavor I got into, at some point we were thinking everything that could go bad did go bad. So it all went, pretty so, but as long as you never stop and then you keep addressing one problem at a time, eventually you get your head a little bit above the water and you're able to push forward and eventually things fall into place. And I'm a big believer, a big optimistic kind of guy. So, and in my experience, it's always kind of fallen back into place as long as you keep pushing and you keep reaching out, doing a little bit every day. That would be my 2 cents for any entrepreneur out there, is to never stop, keep pushing for it. I think it's Bill Ackman that said, sometimes it all goes really, really bad, but if you could just go with one problem at a time, just addressing one little bit of piece at a time, eventually you're able to get something nice in place.
That's so good and so true. From what you're seeing with the industry across North America, where do you think the biggest opportunities are right now for businesses looking for funding, and where are they struggling the most?
I'll go first where there's opportunity. There's obviously a lot of opportunity in tech right now. And if you're able to kind of mitigate a couple different sectors at once, so if you're able to have, a company that would create essentially automation in itself, and be able to have like faster systems in place. I know this from a financial standpoint, this would help a lot, whether it's dealing with investors or lenders. If you're able to access data faster and organize this data better, this would inevitably help with reporting and would help with anything outside of outside. I think it's about automation and organization. Anything you could set up to be optimized, that would obviously help. And so that this might be something actually where businesses are struggling. A lot of people think AI can solve everything, but you have to organize data. You also have to be very organized internally. So whether you bring on the right partners to do so, whether you do it with, you hire someone internally to do it, I think you do have to work a little bit on that. And there's a lot of, I want to say, older companies or, that have been existing for a little while that we've seen need to adapt a little bit more into this space. It's something that is evolving every day, and no company is going to survive unless they do so at some point.
That is right. Are you noticing, as far as businesses approaching lenders, that there's any consistent gaps in how they are preparing or not preparing to acquire the financing?
A lot of companies would just come up with, whether it's like Excel sheets or like basic financial documents and expecting like a great outcome. This might be a little bit on the side of where people have unrealistic expectations. Any lender out there that's going to look at a file, they're going to try and evaluate their risk and at any file. So they're trying to see how they can mitigate this risk. And it all comes down to underwriting. And a lot of times this is just someone that you can't really talk to. A lot of times you'll have access to the representative at a bank, the account manager, or so on. But the underwriting team itself, only the representative can talk to, only the account manager. We're talking about one person whose core job is just to evaluate risk on paper and see if it's a go or a no-go. So in our experience, a lot of companies come, I don't want to say poorly prepared, but, not sufficiently prepared. They just come in with a lot of expectations, but not enough preparation. It's a core problem. It's something where the better your chances are of having what you're trying to get is by supplying all the right information at the right times. Having your financials ready, on point, the latest ones available, because if you submit a file and there's a lot of back and forth, and eventually a month or two go by, they're going to ask for your latest financials again, just to get a better sense of what's been going. So having always those documents available, as well as projections, as well as the business model in a nutshell, explain kind of very directly for this underwriter, it always helps. Essentially, they want to see how you have a stabilized cash flow and how your growth or your competitive edge is on paper, and it needs to make sense for someone external to have a look and a glance at and just to go, okay, this makes sense.
Yes, to be able to have that preparation then is what's going to make it less involved, I guess you would say, once they come to you. I'm curious, as you've grown, what efficiency strategies have made the biggest difference for your firm recently, whether in operations or client delivery or decision making?
Well, I think it's something that's ongoing. It's about our internal system being optimized, and I mean the full system. So dealing with our whole communication suite, with linked with our CRM, linked with our many partners. So we're still actively in the ongoing process to optimize everything, implementing AI internally to help make better decisions and also assess information quicker, faster. Whatever can help us move faster is actually quite helpful in our industry. So setting up everything properly on our drives, collecting data, anything we can automate as well so that we can limit the actual human hours and then therefore have our available human hours working on relationships and client facing and actually dealing with the important development of our business and essentially having like all the documents gathering and the CRM logistics being done more onto the automated and AI side of things.
Wonderful. So, would you be able to give us an example of one of the automations that you've put into place or one of the AI tools or something that you've used that's really made a big difference for you?
Sure, I think, well, as I mentioned, it's still something ongoing. It's not fully optimized. We're still dealing with a couple issues here and there, but we've essentially have built our own AI agent that takes care of all the data gathering internally with our CRM and updating the information relevant to the accounts, the partners, just so that we're able to make better decisions when we onboard a deal, a new opportunity. We're kind of able to faster target the right partners and the right solutions. So it's still something ongoing because I don't think this is something that you never quite get perfectly, to be honest. And then, there's all this security component attached to it. So we do have to have a secure vault taking care of all the different aspect of our business. It's essentially it's very useful, and we're implementing a lot of more things this year so that we could essentially maybe have more than one agent and then having them working together, helping out our team, doing our own underwriting so that we can optimize things for our lenders and so on.
Wonderful. I love that. What's been the most effective way then that you've been able to attract and build trust with new clients?
Great question. Attractive way is, I think it's in our service offering. So preparing the right documentation, building data rooms, building projections, creating the most important aspect of this is creating the right strategy so that it's sustainable on the long term. Any file, and we always say this whenever we onboard someone, it might not be the right time. But we can always set up a call, give up, our first consultation is always free. So we're there to give our advice and see what the strategy could look like. And it might be a fit right now. And there might be a couple of strategies we can implement. It might be a couple of phases that we should implement. We never try to do everything at once. So we'll prepare things accordingly with the right timeline. And if it's simply not the right time, then we'll prepare everything in advance. We'll make sure that at the right time, we're able to come back with the right solution.
To be proactive for when that time comes. That's good. What would be the best advice that you've ever received for business?
So let me think about it. Just want to, because I had a lot of advice over the years. It all comes down to working on what you're good at and then delegating or outsourcing the things that you're not so good at. Because there's only so many hats you can wear. And a good entrepreneur needs to know what he should focus on and then delegate the rest. Even if it means like, let's say you're 90% good at something, but on another hand, another aspect of your business, you're like 110% good at it. You should focus on that and then bring someone on to take part of that 90% or 80%. And a lot of, I guess a lot of entrepreneurs in the beginning would do everything and they'll try to have a bite and at everything they can get their hands on. But the issue there is there's only so much time within a day and a week. And eventually you kind of end up, working against your own self. So focusing on what you're good at is the best advice I've seen anywhere. It's essentially where you'll be able to grow much faster. And there's a difference between working on what you're good at and what you're passionate about. You might be passionate about a lot of things, which is fine. You could do in your own time and your free time, but working at what you're good at and then hammering down on this strength and this expertise is really going to be the differentiator on the competitive world, the business side of things. in the market, if you're competing against someone that's really good at something, then you need to be the specialist into this field as well in order to have a chance. And I think this comes down to any business model, any great businesses, they might still operate in a field where there are competitors, but if they're able to solve a problem in a better way, even if there's a lot of competition, then they still have a business model because they're just providing a better solution.
Mm. I like what you said about always doing your best. And it actually it reminded me of something my high school French teacher used to always get us to say, and that was, and I apologize if I botch this because it's been 30 years since I had to say it almost, but je suis la crème de la crème, et je fais toujours de mon mieux, which essentially means I believe I can be the best and that I'll always do my best. And when you said that about, that we need to be focusing on what we're good at, that means if we're going to do our best, we're not trying to do all the other things that we're not good at. We're going to delegate it so we can just focus on doing our best. So I appreciate that. That's good. If you could solve one major challenge for your business today, what would that be?
There's always different things to solve. One major challenge, I think, is just to be everywhere at once. And that's kind of why we're getting into the AI space and trying to implement it as much as possible. And building, actually, that's one of our goals for 2026, is to build a platform that people would be able to subscribe and get on there and get information right from the get-go, right from accessing the platform. So one of the core issues we're facing is there's only so many human hours we can have and so many people on our team, and we're trying to grow as fast as we can, but from signing agreements to onboarding new partners to onboarding new employees and contractors, there's only so much time that we can focus everything at once. So the more we're able to automate and optimize everything, I think AI brings a big differentiator in this space. So if we could essentially have a business that would think like us, and it obviously would never take care of the relationship aspect of things, but everything on the side of decision making and coordinating the right documents and coordinating the right steps within our timeline and just identifying the next steps into each and every component of every file. This is a major pivot point for us, and that's our goal for 2026, is to have this done kind of automatically so that our human team, if I may, would just come in and take care of the relationship and just make sure that the partners are taken care of and the clients are taken care of. And that way we have a very successful model. So I think that's the major shift most companies are trying to face as well. It's not just us. It's a big shift in the market. Is companies that are able to do this well will have a great advantage over the next few years.
All right. So you've worked across entrepreneurship, consulting, and finance, and now you're helping companies navigate major financial decisions. What's one piece of advice you'd give to business leaders who want to position themselves for sustainable growth?
It's well, I kind of went on and mentioned it earlier. It's organizing everything properly. The best, what's that saying? If you don't prepare and plan ahead, you're planning for failure. So the best way to get anything correctly is to prepare as much as you can. So getting ahead by organizing everything, and just having a lot of transparency, because obviously, whether you're dealing with partners, investors, lenders, at some point everything is going to become apparent, or there's things that might come to the surface. Just being transparent and organizing everything accordingly. The more you can strategize as well, the better chances of success. You can't prepare for everything, obviously, but you might, increase your chances by thinking of different outcomes and then planning ahead. So that would be my biggest advice.
It's good. Always plan ahead. Yes. Loic, Thank you for sharing your story and insights today. And where can our listeners connect with you if they want to learn more about Agile Solutions or explore some financing and fractional CFO support?
Yeah, appreciate it. So agilesolutions.global is our website. We also are on various social media platforms. The tag is Agile Solutions again. And myself, I'm onto a couple platforms as well as LinkedIn, so they can find me. The tag is LGD Advisor. So a couple of different ways to reach out, but essentially agilesolutions.global is the best way to reach out to our team.
Perfect. And I do appreciate all you've shared here today. I think this conversation really highlighted how important it is for business to be financially prepared and strategic and intentional as they grow. So, to everyone listening, if you have found a value in today's episode, make sure to like and subscribe and share this with somebody who's building, scaling, or leading in the business world. And Loïc, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me again, Cherise. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And we'll see everyone next time on Beyond the Margins.